Hello and welcome. I am Eleanor, and today I am speaking with the lovely and amazing model Anastasia Kole. Welcome, Anastasia, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Now, Anastasia, when I first started as a model, I distinctly remember coming across some of your images and having you be such a huge influencing factor in my career. So really, I've been fangirling over you since I started. So
Oh,
I just really want to give a shout out of you have some of the most amazing vintage classic images in your portfolio that I've ever seen. And I think you're really just one of the absolute top models out there.
oh, thank you so much.
It's
Really,
really a
really,
treat for me and anybody watching to have you here today.
thanks.
So, getting started, can you just tell us a little bit how you ended up as a freelance food model?
Yeah, so it's been quite a while ago. I started back in Ukraine almost 9 years ago, I think. Very randomly, I was just uh, stopped by this photographer on the street who was just taking pictures of me without my permission. And he got my attention, and we started talking about photography and what he was doing. And he invited me for a photo shoot in his studio. And at first I was a little like nervous, and I wasn't sure, hesitant, and I wasn't sure if it was safe to go. But then my curiosity took over, and I'm glad it did, because that's how it all started. He just kind of got me really curious about this whole community of photographers and models and artists. And it was a whole new world for me. And I was just so excited to explore it. And I found out about all these websites where photographers and models shared their work and critiqued each other's work. And I just so wanted to be part of it. I was fascinated by the idea of being a muse of an artist, of collaborating with all these different artists, of sharing their vision and exploring these different roles and sides that I could maybe present in the photos. And so this whole like burning curiosity got me in this whole world, quite small world in Ukraine, of photographers and models. And that's how my first portfolio was built, based solely on enthusiasm. I was basically never paid for my work, but I wasn't really thinking about the money back then. I was just really fascinated, as I said. And so by the time I got to the US, I already had a pretty solid portfolio. And I already had my page on Model Mayhem set up in one model place, which back then was still a thing. And I knew that in the US there is a whole other planet of it all. And I already knew a lot of models who've been doing it, and who I knew were making a living out of it. And I already was talking with some photographers from the US whose work I admired. And so yeah, by the time when I got to the US, I already had some contacts of models and photographers, and it wasn't hard for me at all to start picking up gigs. And I was supposed to only come for a month, but then I realized that, oh my God, I could also go to different states and different cities and just meet more people. And then, of course, I kind of started meeting more models, and they were sharing contacts, and we started planning, modeling trips, and just kept on rolling from there.
That is awesome. So then, at what point did this flip to actually become your career?
From coming to the US, I
Awesome.
would say it was like probably 3 years after I started back in Ukraine. And in Ukraine, as I said, I always did it for fun and just because I thought it was cool and fascinating to create beautiful images. But then in the US, on top of that curiosity, there was always also like all these people who were willing to pay me for my work. So
right. That's awesome. So once you got to the US, how long did it take to really pick up and get momentum and start making, enough to live off of?
Well, I was not planning on making much when I first came. I first came for just one gig that somebody actually flew me for one specific gig. And then out of curiosity, I was just getting in touch with some people on Model Mayhem. And the first week of being in New York, I already had like 3 or 4 shoots booked up. And I was like, "Whoa, this is cool. Now we're talking."
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, it was just happening right away.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
But I guess it also, it happened because I was sort of previously networking.
Right.
It wasn't just, like overnight. It was just sort of naturally building up because over 3 years of modeling back in Ukraine, I was like reaching out to people and talking, and I was getting a lot of messages from Model Mayhem, like, maybe if you're ever in New York, let me know, and all that. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you mentioned already having contacts with models as well when you first came over here. So how throughout your career has having that network with models and the community with them, how has that affected your career?
Oh, yeah, it affected the career in the US big time. I mean, first gigs that I picked up was thanks to this model who is Vasanta, her name. Maybe you know her.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met in Ukraine, and she kind of introduced me to this whole world, because at that time she was already quite established in this industry. And she introduced me to a lot of photographers online, and was telling me about all the traveling and booking gigs and this and that. And so by the time when I got there, she just gave me a lot of contacts of who I might be willing to work with. And then she also introduced me to Rebecca Lawrence, with who we traveled extensively together. And I mean, yeah, with her, I actually sort of made it like a full-time job.
That's awesome.
I mean, through her, of course, she introduced me to all kinds of other different people, and like Candace Nirvana and a bunch of others. I mean, yeah, I met a lot of models and photographers through Rebecca, because she's been doing it for a while at that time.
So that's really been quite an important element of your career then, is your connections with these other models.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know where I would be without them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I really love about what you're doing now is that you've started running these phenomenal workshops that look just fantastic and have some amazing art coming out of them. So I'm wondering what actually led up to you deciding to launch that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess after years of modeling and traveling and working for other people's events and workshops as a model, it just kind of came natural. I just realized that not even me, my dad was telling me, like, but who, if not you or somebody like you, would do a great workshop? Because you have experience, you have contacts, people who might be interested. Because I mean, this niche is very narrow. Like, there are not that many people who are interested in going to such events, but they're definitely there. And I know a lot of such people, and the models, and how these workshops should be run, and what mistakes should be avoided. And he kind of inspired me and motivated me. And that's how it all started. Like, just because I already had experience of working such events, and I knew what should be done and what shouldn't be done.
That's awesome. As a
Mm-hmm.
model, one of the reasons why I'm so excited to see you and a handful of other models starting to really run these amazing, high quality events and have them pick up speed and get so popular so quickly is that a lot of the more popular events I know as a model tend to, their photographer run, and no matter how well intentioned the photographer, sometimes the models get cut a little short.
Yeah.
Where they're not the best experience for us for whatever reason. So I'm really, it feels more comfortable to me to consider going and working a workshop that's run by a model who knows, we need breaks occasionally.
Right.
So I'm wondering if that factored into your decision at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely trying to take care of my models because I know how hard of a work it is. I mean, it's definitely not a vacation for a model. And the models that come to my events, it's like, sometimes, when you get an offer like this, like, come to this beautiful place and enjoy and have fun and also take pictures in the meantime. It's not quite what it's like to work for an event like this. It's a lot of hard work. Sometimes you get, scratched and burned, and you have to climb things, and you have to wake up early in the morning, and you're completely worn out by the day is done. And it's a lot of hard work. And I think that models really should get, what they deserve, the right treatment, and from photographers and the organizers of the workshop. But what was your question again? The first part.
I think you mostly answered it. I just asked how the treatment of models factored into your deciding to create workshops, because you're filling this space that we need of workshops that actually realize that it's not just a vacation in a pretty place for us. There's a lot of hard work going in.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I think you answered that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I think actually, don't you have one later this month in Sicily, was it?
Yeah, it's actually coming up in just a week and a half. Wow.
That's why I was so surprised. I was like, I had my fingers crossed when I sent the invitation, because she's getting ready for this Sicily trip. She probably has no time. I doubt she'll come on. And then you said, yes, I have time. And I'm like, oh.
Oh, I'm actually like having this time off completely, because I'm going to Sicily next week. Mm-hmm. And we'll just, take care of a few organizational stuff before everybody else arrives. But for now, I'm like doing nothing. And it's the third one in Sicily, and everything's already sort of set up and worked out. We sorted everything out with our hosts and with all the locations. There's not much to worry about. I mean, we'll come there before the workshop just to make sure that everything's good. But the third one is definitely easier than the first one.
Absolutely.
The first one was a lot of stress.
That's awesome. So going back to your career as a model, I'm wondering if once you got to the US and you started doing this full time and it became your career, if at any point, I've noticed that a lot of models go through sort of waves almost, where you'll do really well and then things will sort of, it's like you hit a ceiling. And so I'm wondering if there was any point where you had like a breakthrough where you had sort of plateaued and then figured out how to get back on your feet and go to the next level as a model.
Mm-hmm. Well, the waves that you're talking about were, in my experience, were mostly about having inspiration and motivation to create new and different work. And the lows in those waves were the times when I just felt like I'm stuck. I'm doing the same thing. I'm going in circles. I feel uninspired. And so from when I actually was going up the wave, I just felt inspired, because I realized that model is not necessarily a tool for a photographer, and model is an art form of its own. It's not just a tool to create art. And by creating a brand and by expressing yourself through your modeling, is quite more fulfilling than just offering your services as a model and just, okay, like, tell me what to do, you're paying me for my time, so I'll just do whatever you say, take the cash and leave. And realizing that, and putting more effort and more passion into shoots with whoever hires me, made me more motivated and inspired and fulfilled. These were the highs.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's
And
really
I think,
cool. Oh, sorry, go on.
yeah, and I think it actually, over time, it makes a model more successful and more, how to say, desired, I guess, because she represents something unique. She expresses herself in a unique way, and more people are willing to work with this unique, creative person that is not just like a model. She's actually an artist. And I think that people kind of, they're willing to work with somebody who has something to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that in my own career and working with other models as well. And one of the things that I like to say is, a lot of the models, when they start out, they feel like they need to copy every other model and fit in, when actually the best thing for your career is to figure out what makes you unique and stand out.
Exactly. And I think that this tendency in the industry is just so incredible and inspiring, that models just, they don't have to fit into this like little frame of what a model is supposed to be, how the model is supposed to look, the age, the height, the weight, the ethnicity, the I don't know, anything. There are no frames. You can be a model if you have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
Say it through your modeling, and I really find it very beautiful and inspiring. And it's kind of like, I don't see it much in Europe, unfortunately, but in the US it's just amazing about all this variety, not only in this like industry of art modeling, but even in commercial shoots and in high-end magazines and all that. You can see more and more diversity, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that's really neat to hear, though. I didn't realize that that was different in Europe.
Yeah, definitely. In Europe, it's more of a, old school, young, slim, tall models. Not that much diversity, unfortunately. But
Well, I know we've still got a long, long way to go, but it's cool to hear maybe we're a little ahead of the curve.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So, I've been trying to ask everybody this. Sorry, let me reframe my thoughts here. Total brain whoop. Just, if there was one thing that you wish a more experienced model had told you at some point earlier in your career that would have made everything just so much easier, what might that be? What would you want to share with the models watching this right now?
I guess I would go back to what we were just talking about, actually, because I realized that later in my career that I don't necessarily just have to, follow the instructions and be what I'm expected to be. I mean, it's fine too if you're hired and to complete the job and you're getting paid to be this and to act like this and you're cool with that, that's fine. But like, if you're looking at the big picture and you're creating a brand and you're creating this personality, and then you're hired because of that, because of what you're created and and then basically you get to do what you love the most and what you feel the most, expressive, than just by doing what you're being told by a photographer. So being a personality and listening to yourself and using modeling as an art form of your own is probably what I would tell to myself when I was younger. Because in the early years of my modeling, I thought that was what a model is supposed to do, like just, transform and adjust to what a photographer wants you to be. And each photographer is different, so you have to adjust and be different. And this whole flexibility and being able to change and adjust is great, but I would rather use it in my own way and as my own, creative, I guess, artist. Yeah.
Yeah. From my own experience, it's definitely about meeting in the middle, I think, because if you go all the way over and become exactly what the photographer wants, or try to, you actually end up not becoming what the photographer wants because they hired you for a reason.
Yeah.
And so it just sort of ends up weird. But then if you just stay over here and just do whatever the hell you want when you're being photographed, the photographer hired you for a reason. You can't just do your own thing.
Right.
So meeting in the middle and really standing in who you are as a model and what you offer that's special, and adapting that to what the photographer's vision is.
Yes.
That is where the magic happens. That's a sweet spot, is meeting in the middle there. And it's important to remember, like, they hired you. They chose you for that project for a reason. So if you just try to become whatever it is you think they want, like, that actually, in my experience, turns photographers off. Like, they're like, well, okay. And it just ends up being super awkward because you're like, there is this constant attempt at a feedback loop that just isn't happening.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, maybe I sounded like it, but I'm definitely never, never bossy. I'm never trying to like overcome and say like, okay, well, let's just do what I want. And this is the idea that I have, so you better shoot it. I completely realize that if a person hires me, he hires me because he has a concept of some sort, or because he wants to capture this or that. But
absolutely, you did not convey that. That was just adding a little bit to make that more clear for any newer models who maybe might have misunderstood.
But it's definitely a collaboration, and the more you can give as an artist to this collaboration, not just blindly following the instructions, but actually giving, trying to feel the mood of whatever the photographer who's working with you is trying to say and convey, and playing with it and just expressing your own self with whatever he's going with.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. I think those are the best kinds of collaborations.
Absolutely.
Kind of miss that. I don't shoot much these days.
Oh, just mainly focusing on the workshops then?
Yeah, mostly focusing on the workshops. I wish I was doing more of my own photography. I was just moving around a lot lately. So, and right now I live in Malta and I just moved a couple of weeks ago and I know no one here. So it's like, maybe if I do some photography, I just do like self-portraits because I don't know anyone to shoot with and I don't know any models to shoot myself. So, but maybe that will improve over time.
Awesome. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you.
Yeah.
What was that?
It's all about making contacts, networking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so where can the people watching this find you if they want to find your portfolio or information on your workshops?
It's all on my website. It's anastasiakole.com. You can find my modeling work there. You can find my photography work there, and you can find all the information on the upcoming workshops there too.
Awesome.
And
Fantastic.
it also has links to my social media, like Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited to have you on board. Really excited about these workshops that you're running. And this was great. I think there's a lot of really valuable information in here for any models watching. So thank you again for
Thank you so much for having me. I'm coming overcoming the fear of talking on camera, but it was actually fun and easy. I'm hoping that it would be helpful for someone. And thank you so much for inviting me. It's really exciting what you're doing in general, like for this community. I think it's very, very important.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot. And I'm just so excited about this summit. So, yeah, enjoy everybody, and I'll see you later. Thank you so much, Anastasia, again. Bye-bye.
Thanks.